I felt that, the fact that it wasn't just a music tour, that we also got the cultural stuff as well.
The honours strings group. It was just a different way of playing music like I'd never done it before.
Music-wise, probably playing for those younger kids and knowing that hopefully one day they will, think, oh, we saw those kids playing that and that was really cool and I'd like to do that. And knowing that we could pass that on is really rewarding.
For me personally, I was really interested in the Maori culture, and it was very prevalent everywhere you went in the country, and I thought that was really interesting considering how different it is in Australia. It was also really interesting to see how much we could achieve in just 1 or 2 hours. I think it was really amazing, and it just came with a real sense of achievement and satisfaction, so that was really cool.
Not just music. People might go, oh, I don't want to go overseas and just play music and have to rehearse and whatever, but the fact that it was such a culmination of different experiences, I think, why not? It was a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this live broadcast. Rhapsody Rotorua. The concert should be getting underway in just a few minutes' time. Before we start that, brass band. Festival. Rhapsody Rotorua is a unique opportunity for students to make performances, education, information coaching. Each year, music students from across Australia and New Zealand descend on Rotorua for this week-long festival celebrating music and some of the most thrilling adventure activities on offer. Now, for this live broadcast today, we've got a number of cameras and some really nice microphones. So if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, I'd head across to the YouTube channel, if you can. I think the YouTube channel will have slightly higher quality. We've got a number of schools performing today. They'll be announced as we go. Got some really nice cameras, some really nice microphones. Type in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Type in on Facebook or YouTube. We'll try and get close-ups of absolutely everybody going to stage as well. So we're going to be starting with a choral ensemble. But aside from the musical activities here, students have been participating in local cultural activities. Maori Cultural Experience, Hell's Gate Geothermal Park, Ogo Rotorua, Velocity Valley and Skyline Rotorua. So it's a pretty intensive, I think the schools are here for 5 days. So it's a combination of some fantastic performance and coaching, getting together with other students who also are right into music, as well as some of those adventure activities. So we will see how we go throughout the concert, and I'm going to do my very best. Hi, that's me, Tim from Brass Band, looking after this live broadcast for you today. I'll do my very best to try and catch up with a couple of students and teachers, perhaps at the interval of the concert, and we'll have a little chat with them about how their time has been here so far at Rhapsody Rotorua. So as you can see, we've got this nice wide shot of the stage, and we're just waiting for a few more audience members to come in before we get underway with the performances. So students have been performing at local schools, and there's been a number of adjudications. So we've got David Brimner, of course Owen Clark here as well, sort of the musical directors, chief adjudicators. They're on hand to help out with all the ensemble coaching. So students have been receiving feedback on their technique and their performances. And there's a number of workshops and masterclasses that have been happening and will continue to happen, because of course there are 2 more concerts after this one. We'll be live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time, which is 5 o'clock if you're on the East Coast of Australia. I know there's a number of schools, or at least one school from Sydney, one from Melbourne, who have made their way over. So don't miss those further 2 concerts on Thursday and Friday night. So stick around, loyal viewers, wherever you're tuning in from. We will be underway very, very soon. Just waiting for the audience to come in. But since we said we were going to go live at 1 o'clock, we've gone live at 1 o'clock. It's all happening. It's all happening here. Of course, we're here at the Harbour Centre in Rotorua, not at the Performing Arts Centre where this event is usually held. I'm hoping to get back there, I think, for next year, but I'll have to check out with the team at World Strides, of course, running Rhapsody Rotorua, to find out the plan for next year. But of course, performance groups and schools from all over the world are invited here for this 5-day festival. I believe next year in 2020 it'll be starting on June 29. So if you're interested, if you're a teacher and you're interested in bringing your students across, check it out. Really nice team here. Some great people around this event, so I'm really looking forward to the concert and hearing the music that's going to be coming out. Of course, I'm Tim from Brass Band, and we're here in New Zealand at Rhapsody Rotorua, and we will be heading, after this event finishes, we'll be very sad when this finishes, but after it does, we'll be heading off to stream some more band events next week. There's New Zealand National Brass Band Championships, so lots of live streaming of bands. We're very lucky to be here with World Strides and Rhapsody Rotorua this week, so today, tomorrow and Friday for the live streams. Then even more live streams next week. I'm not sure if some of the students here will be participating in the New Zealand Brass Band Championships. We'll have to wait and see. But we do have a great time going around and live broadcasting all kinds of band events. Would you believe this is my 4th time in Rotorua? I had to come over last year to broadcast I didn't have to. I was invited to come and broadcast the New Zealand National Pipe Band Championships. And let me tell you, trying to broadcast pipe bands outside is very, very different and much more difficult than streaming when you're inside. There's no PowerPoints outside. That really held me back sometimes. But we got there, and it's lovely to be back in Rotorua. People talk about the smell here, and of course it does have a sulfury smell, and there are geothermal hot springs all around the place, which Team Brass Band intend on enjoying very, very soon. And of course, some of the students do get to go to the geothermal parks as well. And a message coming through on YouTube, looking forward to New Zealand National Band Championships next week. Yeah, that's going to be super fun. We'll be broadcasting both venues there. That's next week, of course, up in lovely Hamilton. But I might see if, while we're waiting for this concert to get underway, which still might be a few minutes away, I might see if we can grab someone for a little interview. Because as interesting as I am, the other students and musicians involved in this event are far more interesting. So we will see if we can catch someone to have a chat with. But we'll be kicking off with a choir, then going to a couple of string groups, a stage band, and we have the Funkadelics from Mentone Grammar School. I was having a chat with Tim Vivers, one of the ringleaders at Mentone School, who've come over. They had quite an early departure, I believe, from school. I think it was 2:30 a.m. They had to catch a bus to the airport. So they caught a bus to Melbourne Airport. They managed to fly out to Auckland, and they bussed. It's about a 3-hour bus ride, Auckland to Rotorua. But they're feeling fresh and ready to rock and roll. Or maybe they'll be playing their string instruments. Here we go. Owen Clark taking to the stage.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We're not quite the evening, but the lights have dimmed, so I thought it was evening time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Harbour Centre and to this concert that is the first of our public concerts by our schools from Australia and one from New Zealand, taking part in the World Strides Festival, Rhapsody Rotorua Youth Music Festival. So great to have you here. Lovely to have the audience. We have some children here today. Aorangi Primary School. Give me a call out, Aorangi. I hear you. Very good. And we have some locals here. Nice to see the locals. And we have some girls from Epsom Girls Grammar sitting in and watching this bit of the concert too. Well, you're going to hear a whole lot of music today, a whole range of some of the different groups. I'm going to be talking about them while we move through the concert. Now, I know there are some people watching this concert in Australia, which is very exciting because it's been live streamed through the World Strides webpage. So if you're watching from Australia, hello, I hope you see your children, you might do. And nice to see Tim from Brass Band, who is live streaming it. So I hope it goes well, looking forward to it. Well, boys and girls, we're going to get, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get straight into it. Our first ensemble is from Rockhampton, which is all the way up in Queensland. They've come from 30-degree weather to join us here in Rotorua. And their choir, Multi Voce, is going to perform 2 short songs for you to open the concert. Their choir is directed by their director, Jess, and accompanied, of course, by one of their teachers. And they are going to sing Adiamus by Carl Jenkins and Volta Dorma by Paul Yarman. Please put your hands together for the Rockhampton Girls Grammar School Choir. Beautiful. Lovely work from Rockhampton Girls Grammar, and their choir director and music teacher is Miss Jessica Dawes. Please give them a round of applause as they go off stage. So we have 6 Australian schools here at Rhapsody Rotorua this year. In this concert, you're going to hear from 3 of them. The school students are also performing a public concert in here tomorrow night, and the other 3 Australian schools will be playing there. If you're lucky enough or willing enough to want to come again tomorrow night, you'll hear some different music and some different students performing. Now, we have a bit of changing around to do on stage. We've had these choir risers up here for the choir, but now we're repositioning for our next ensemble, which is going to be a string group. And that's one of the beauties, I think, of Rhapsody Rotorua, is that we have all kinds of musical ensembles here. Schools will bring maybe 40, 50, 60, perhaps up to 100 students, and they form different ensembles within their school. They might have a choir, they might have a stage band, a jazz band, there might be a string group, and then perhaps they form a small orchestra as part of their touring party, I guess. So our string group is going to be performing behind me on stage, and they come from Mentone Girls Secondary College. Now, Mentone is in Melbourne, which is obviously, yeah, there we go, it's almost as cold as Rotorua, Melbourneites, sometimes a bit warmer, sometimes a bit colder. So Mentone has a few ensembles, and you're going to hear from some of them throughout the concert, but our first one is going to perform a lovely piece for you, a string piece by Richard Meyer, and the piece of music is called Terra Nova. Now, just to give you a little bit of an idea about the festival that we have here, Rhapsody Rotorua, it started a long time ago, almost 20 years. It started in Palmerston North, actually, in the year 2000, but then it came to Rotorua in 2001, and it was meant to go back to Palmerston North and alternate each year. However, Rotorua was so wonderful that it's been here ever since, something like that. So Rhapsody has been here since 2001. So it's been here for, I'll do my mathematics, Aorangi Primary School, can you work that out? 2001 to 2019, probably about 18 years, we'll say that roughly. So 18 years Rhapsody Rotorua has been going on. Actually, I should have asked the girls from Epsom Girls Grammar. They could have worked it out quickly. Has been going on here in Rotorua. And over the years, we've had thousands of school children come and perform, whether they are from Australia or from New Zealand. We have 5 New Zealand schools in the festival this year. Not all of them are performing in the concerts, but some of them are coming down just for a day trip or just for overnight to do some adjudications and workshops with our specialist tutors. Oh, looks like the curtain's drawing. I'll move in front of it. Otherwise, I'll be speaking from behind the curtain and look a bit silly for the live stream. Won't it, Tim Kelly? And, yeah, so 5 New Zealand schools and, like I said, 6 Australian schools. From Australia, we've got 350 people, which is quite a lot. And from New Zealand, the 5 schools, our biggest group is from Epsom Girls Grammar of around 80, and then some of them are smaller groups from there. And what happens with the schools is that, as well as performing in these public concerts here in the Harvest Centre, they also, the Australian schools also do workshops and have adjudicated performances. So it is a competition as well, a part of the festival, as well as being a learning experience for them. So this morning and yesterday, many of the schools were on the stage doing their 20-minute performance, which was adjudicated by one of our esteemed judges. And then that specialist judge would then come and do a workshop with the students for another half hour or hour after that. So the musicians get a lot of information given to them, but a lot of experiences from the week as well. Now, Aorangi, did you have some of the school kids come and perform for you in the last couple of days? Or are you going to your school? Tomorrow. So you're going to see some of these groups coming to play for you, which is pretty cool. And they might not play the same music because they've got a whole lot of music that they can play in these concerts. So they'll do about an hour-long concert, I think. So, and that's one of the things also that the schools do is that they go around the local primary schools and perform. And, you know, both students love it. The audience from the New Zealand primary school, but also the kids from Australia. Because they get a real buzz out of performing, and the response from the primary school children is amazing. So they will go and perform a range of music, whether it's their choir and their jazz band and then their strings maybe. And so perform for about an hour at each school, at a couple of schools during the week. The other part of Rhapsody Rotorua for our visiting Australian schools, and maybe one day some of our New Zealand schools might hook into this, is that they get to do a whole lot of adventure activities as well. Now, I'm a Kiwi. I'm from Dunedin, actually, sort of cold as well down there. But I have never, until I got involved in Rhapsody Rotorua, enjoyed some of the experiences here in Rotorua. And I find that, in New Zealand, sometimes you go to some spots that and go for a holiday, but some of the tourist things which are actually amazing attractions, locals don't do. For instance, last night we went to the Agrodome, and we had our opening welcome for all the school students there, and then they got to see the show, and then they had a big dinner, and then they had a DJ and a bit of a dance, so it was pretty cool. I've been to Tamaki Village, the Maori village, which the schools all go to, the Australian schools, and we've been to Velocity Valley, and of course the luge, the old favourite, the luge. I'm not quite sure how New Zealand gets away with having the luge with health and safety nowadays, but it's great fun careering down the hill with no handrails or brakes. I think it has some brakes, but on a little bit of plastic. So these experiences the Australian schools do as they are here for the week, and it's intermingled with their adjudication and their performances as well. So it's a busy week for them, but they really do get a lot out of it. Now, the other special thing that they do is they form combined ensembles, orchestras, bands, choirs. We get them all together and we split them up into different groups. And our New Zealand school, Epsom Girls Grammar, some kids from Western Heights High School from here, and some other students from Taupo are going to be taking part in those groups as well. We call them our honours and festival groups, and they perform in a public concert, our gala concert, on Friday night in here. So on Friday night will be the performance not of individual schools, but of all our combined groups, and it's a pretty spectacular evening. And one of the good things about that concert is that, or about those groups, is that the kids get to meet people from other schools and some Kiwis and so on and so forth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think they are ready. Let us introduce our ensemble. So, our string group from Mentone Girls Secondary College are going to play Terra Nova by Richard Meyer. Please give them a big round of applause. Beautiful work. As the curtain slowly comes around, let's give another round of applause for Mentone girls in their string ensemble. There we go, almost there. Well, our next string ensemble comes from a school from Sydney, and they are St George. I just need to check. St George Girls High School. Lucky I didn't say St George Boys High School. So St George are here with a number of ensembles, a number of groups, and their string ensemble is going to perform a really cool piece for you called Hand Clap. Now, I was lucky enough to see them perform this morning because I adjudicated and did a quick workshop with our string ensembles for this trip. I'm a violinist and a trombonist and conductor, but it was great to be able to work with string musicians, and they played a few pieces in that performance, but this one is a little bit different and is a really enjoyable one. Now, one thing I like seeing with our Rhapsody groups is that you see students at all different levels. You see some students who are obviously experienced on their instrument, but also playing in the group are some younger students who are not as experienced, but are really forming a great part of the ensemble and working well together as a team. Now, I know some of the primary school sort of watching some of these musicians play. Now, some of them would have started learning their instruments at your age, boys and girls. So sometimes you can start a string instrument when you're 5 or 6 years old, and you can move your way through it. You can also start instruments learning them when you're a little bit older as well. So it's great for you to be able to see the students performing here. Some of our other adjudicators that we have here for Rhapsody Rotorua come from all around New Zealand. So like I said, I've been doing the string ensembles. Our band and orchestra adjudicator is one of New Zealand's most experienced brass musicians, actually, Mr. David Bremner. He's the principal trombonist of the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. So he lives in Wellington, and he's up for this week, and he's been working with the concert bands and with some of the orchestras during the adjudication, and then giving some comments in a workshop afterwards. Now, Mr. Roger Fox has been involved with the festival for many years, but he's basically Mr. Jazz New Zealand. He's a fantastic trombonist, but also band director, and he's been working with the jazz ensembles, and we've got a couple of, I guess, contemporary bands or rock bands in the festival this year, so he's been working with them also. Down at the tea rooms, in the government gardens, there is the old tea rooms down there, the building. We've been having our choirs do their adjudication down there. And they have been working with a man from Auckland called Jonathan Palmer, who went to Rangitoto College, actually, but who's now over in the United States doing his doctorate in choral conducting. Sounds fascinating. All right. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, our next group are going to play a short piece, like I said, Hand Clap. They are from, of course, St. George Girls High School, and their conductor is Miss Emily Chapman. So when the curtain opens, let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Beautiful. So their conductor was Emily Chapman, and this is the string ensemble from St. George Girls' School. Let's give them another round of applause. Now, I know some of you may have seen musical instruments in groups play before, and I know some of you over here playing them, but I thought I'd explain what some of the instruments are that you're seeing. So our string instruments are, well, not obviously, I was going to say obviously instruments with strings on them, but not obviously, but they do have strings on them, like a guitar would. But our string family only has 4 strings on each instrument, but they do come in different sizes. So the small ones, when you see the string groups play, they are the violins, and then there's one which is a little bit bigger and it sounds a bit lower, that's called a viola. And then the big ones, which the students need to sit down to play, are called the cellos. Those ones go down into the floor. And then the large one, there's 2 double basses in that last string ensemble, the big ones that they were playing there. So they've got a really low, a very cool sound, the double basses. Well, we're going to hear again from our singers from Rockhampton Girls Grammar. This time one of their small choirs, and they're going to sing a couple of short songs for us. So Rockhampton have brought quite a few choristers over, plus a small wind band on their trip. They've got about 30 girls over with them. And so they form with their choirs. They have the large one that we saw at the beginning, but then they have a more specialised choir of just a small number of students who are going to be singing a couple of songs, White Winter Hymnal and The Wayfaring Stranger. So Rockhampton Girls Grammar, I was actually in Rockhampton just a few weeks ago. At the moment, I live in Cairns. I know I'm from Dunedin, but I thought I'd go somewhere a bit warmer. Well, it might be a tiny bit too warm up there, but I live in Cairns at the moment, and I went down to Rockhampton to conduct a concert with the Rockhampton Symphony Orchestra. And Jessica Dawes, who's the choir director, was playing clarinet in the concert, so it was really nice to meet her. And that was just a few weeks ago, and we could talk about some of the arrangements that we needed to do for this festival. So, I think they're almost on stage. When the curtain opens, please give the Rockhampton Girls Grammar Bella Voce Choir a big round of applause. Thank you. I've always wanted to do that. Come through, enter through some open curtains. All right, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful voices from Rockhampton Girls Grammar. So well done to the girls and their director, Jessica Dawes. Now we're going to hear another choir before we move on to some jazz bands. This choir is from Mentone Girls Secondary College, which we heard performing earlier. They had their strings on stage. Now, Mentone Girls, their madrigal choir is directed by Blanca West, and they're going to perform two short songs. Their songs are Always Remember Us This Way, which is from the movie A Star Is Born, and then another song called Keep Me Cool by Aluka. So you might see some of the same students who performed in the string ensemble, because particularly with the choirs, sometimes the students play either in the band or the strings and also sing in the choir. Obviously they have busy lives back home at their school with all the rehearsals, but it does mean that when a group comes on tour like this, they've got the ability to have different ensembles performing and different styles of music. Now you'll see that we have a lovely piano accompanying some of our choirs. That's kindly loaned to us from Western Heights High School. So thank you very much to Western Heights High School. It's a beautiful Kawai upright piano that they have, and we had transported down here especially for the festival here at the Harbour Centre. Well, I think they're almost ready. When the curtain opens, please give the Mentone Girls a big round of applause. This is their madrigal choir, and it's directed by Blanca West.
That Arizona sky burning in your eyes. You look at me and babe, I wanna catch on fire. It's buried in my soul like California gold. You found the light in me that I couldn't find.
song Keep My Cool is written by a trio of Australian women, and it's called Keep My Cool.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, was the beautiful voices from Mentone Girls. And it's great to have the variety of music that we're hearing here today. And you're going to hear for the remainder of the concert. All right, Aorangi Primary, why don't you have a stretch? Why don't you stand up? See if you can touch the ceiling. Actually, everybody can stand up if you really want to. Epsom Girls Grammar, there we go. Big stretch. All right, now sit down and have a look at the instruments that we have coming on stage now. And let me tell you about them. Now, Aoranga, can one of you tell me what the names of these instruments are? What instrument is it? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what it is? Call it out if you know it. Do you know? No, not a soprano saxophone. No. Nearly. Anyone else know? Up the back? The flute. Yes, you're right. We've got 5 flutes to play for us now. But after they play, I'm going to introduce you to some of the interesting flutes that you see down the end, which are a little bit bigger than our normal flutes. But first, let's hear them play a beautiful song called Amazing Grace. These are our girls from Rockhampton Girls Grammar School, all of them students. Oh, hang on, there's one of them who's a tiny bit older. Their teacher, Miss... Only a tiny bit. Jessica Dawes. Please give them a clap as they perform for you. Beautiful. Amazing Grace. Such a lovely song. Now, I've asked the girls to actually stay out here so we can look at their flutes. Now, we have three of them playing the normal flute, which everybody knows. Can we just hold that one up? There we go, our beautiful flute that everyone learns at school and knows well. And then we have two very interesting ones here. Now, as I say to students when I teach music, the bigger the instrument, the sound is lower or higher. What do you think? Lower. The bigger the instrument, the lower the sound. Here we have the alto flute. Do you want to hold that up nice and high? You can see it's got a little hook round there, a little loop. That means if it was stretched out, it would be even longer. And then here we have the bass flute, which is a lot wider and then even longer for the hook. Now that obviously needs to be looped around, otherwise the player wouldn't be able to reach the keys to play. Although I saw this young lady, I think she's very versatile because she not only plays the bass flute, but also she milks cows. I saw her last night at the Agrodome milking a cow, and she looked very adept at it. She grasped the teat, and she pulled down with excellent technique. So, well done. Don't worry, you guys on the live stream from Rockhampton, I don't think you can see her blushing, but she's very red. All right, that's embarrassing them enough. As they go off stage, let's give the Rockhampton girls, Grammar Girls, another round of applause. Now, behind us, we're setting up for a couple of groups playing some jazz for you. We're going to have some stage bands now. We're going to have a short break in a few minutes, just a 10-minute one while we just rearrange on the stage, then we'll get you to come back in, because in the second half, we've got some excellent bands playing, some of our concert bands, including our girls from Epsom Girls Grammar. There we go. So the group getting ready to play behind me are from Mentone again, and it's their stage band. Mentone is, of course, I'll just recheck. Mentone Girls Secondary College are from, yes, Melbourne, that's right. Hello, Melbourne, again. Hope you're not too cold. You'll be warm enough. That's right. So Mentone Girls Secondary College. We've heard from their choir and their strings, but their stage band is going to play a cool song called The Jazz Police, which is by Gordon Goodwin, an amazing and prolific composer and arranger for jazz ensembles and bands. So they're going to perform for you in a moment. Then you're going to hear from St. George Girls College a really cool performance from a couple of their percussionists. They're going to come out the front with some unusual instruments, I could say. And so you'll have a bit of fun watching them before we finish with one other short performance and we have a quick break. Well, here they are. Ready? Please give them a big round of applause to play the Jazz Police. There we go, there's the curtain. Let's give them another round of applause. The stage band from Mentone Girls. So there's just another quick change happening on stage for our final group for this half. Then we'll have a very short break and come back and hear some of the bigger ensembles, the bands performing, the concert bands. But in the meantime, we've got some... I'm going to go to the door and tell these next performers to actually make their way in, because I think they're waiting for me to introduce them, but they can't hear me. Come on. Here we go, come on. All right, we have our percussion ensemble. Actually, I'll wait till I'm back in the camera shot for the live stream. Have you got me there? Thank you. We have our percussion ensemble from St. George's Girls' School who are going to come out, and here we go. Look at these instruments. So we had to, when we found these instruments, because their drums and things got held up at the airport by Qantas lost all their. No, sorry, Qantas. I was just joking. No, Virgin lost all their. Actually, that's just joking, Virgin. So we lost all their instruments. So we had to go around Rotorua and find. We had to empty. We went round. The council were very happy actually, because we went round and emptied some of their bins into some bigger skips and things. We had to clean them up, polish them a little bit. Do you think I'm telling the truth, boys and girls? No. These are some beautiful rubbish tins that have been purchased just for this trip, and that's going to sound pretty cool. This piece of music is going to be directed by the girls' percussion teacher, Selena Fung, who is standing here helping them get ready. And it is called, appropriately... Are you ready, girls, before I do the big announcement of the name? Are you ready? Stinking Garbage. Let's give them a big round of applause. All right, fantastic. Great stuff from St. George Girls High School. Now, hey girls, before you go, so, you know, I've got a great idea for getting a YouTube clip going viral with you guys. I reckon, you know, a flash mob, right? You know flash mobs, where, ladies and gentlemen, flash mobs, of course, where you go and perform out in public and people don't realize you're doing it and suddenly a crowd forms and like, wow, that's cool. I reckon you guys go to the set where you're from, Sydney, right? Go to the Opera House and, you know, outside on the big forecourt, I'm sure there's some bins like that. Pick up a couple of bins and just empty all the stuff out. I reckon people will start looking at you. Make sure someone's filming it. Maybe the police might get called, but just tip the rubbish out and be like, when people are like, hey, you can't do that, just be like, no, we're from St. George's Girls, we can do whatever we want. And, you know, and then just tip it out, make a big mess. So when the police come, just make sure you set up quick. If you're too slow, then you'll get arrested, right? But if you're fast enough and you're set up and you start playing, when the cops come, they'll just be like, hey, you girls are cool. All right, so do you want to, maybe you do that. Okay, let me know when you've got it done and put it on YouTube and we'll share it and stuff like that. All good? Okay, let's give them another round of applause. St. George Girls High School. Now, when I was asked to do the emceeing for this concert, I knew there was a bit of time that I had to fill in while they're rearranging things backstage. But I bet the people who asked me to MC didn't know that I could talk such rubbish. Thank you. I'm here all night. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're nearly ready for our next group, which is going to perform for you. And they're going to play a bit of jazz for you, a short couple of songs, and then there'll be a very short break. So in that break, you can pop out into the foyer and stretch your legs, maybe have a breath of fresh air. The next half of the concert isn't as long as this. We've got just a few groups playing, and they'll be going through, and we're looking to finish just after 3 o'clock. So do go and get a break, and then come back in. I'll give you a call, and we'll get ready. So these guys are going to play 2 songs for you. They're very funky. One of them is called Funkified, and the second one is a cool chart called September. From Mentone, please give a great round of applause for Funkadelics.
You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. Move to the music. You gotta shout and shing-a-ling. You gotta groove with the rhythm. Girl, get slick and shake that thing. Yeah. Just let it be for real. If you've got the power. Now you know what you gotta do. You can't lay dead, just catch the groove. Oh, you got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. The backbeat before you get too old. You gotta blaze fuel the fire and let it grab your soul. Just let it be for real. If you got the power. And now you all know what you gotta do. You can't lay dead, just catch the groove. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. Now they say it's the blood. In the blood, in the blood. Say it's in the blood now. In the blood, in the blood. got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. You got to funkify. Hey, hey, you got to funkify. Oh, yeah. You got to funkify. Say now you gotta funkify. You got to funkify. Remember the 21st night, September. Lovers changing their minds, pretenders, while chasing the clouds away. Our hearts are ringing in the key that our souls are singing. As we dance through the night, do you remember how the stars stole the night away? Talking love, remember how we knew love was here to stay. Now December found the love that shared September. Only blue talking love, remember the true love we shared today. Body up, say do you remember? Body up, dancing in September. Body up, never was a cloudy day. Body up, say do you remember? Body up, dancing in September. Body up, golden dreams of shiny days. Now a bell was ringing, our souls were singing. Do you remember every cloudy day? Body up, say do you remember? Body up, dancing in September. Body up, golden dreams of shiny days.
hear one more round of applause for the Funkadelics from Mentone Girls. All right, now we've got a quick change on stage, so have a short break. Come on out for 5 minutes if you want. Come and stretch your legs outside. Can we get the house lights up? Thank you. And we'll see you in just a few minutes. I'll come out and call you to come back in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you've enjoyed the first part of the concert here today. My name's Tim from Brass Band. We are here in Rotorua, wonderful Rotorua, for Rhapsody Rotorua, the first concert that we're broadcasting. We've got another concert tomorrow night and one more on Friday as well. Now, I can tell you a little bit more about World Strides, the organisation who are putting this terrific event together. So, World Strides are running this festival, fantastic Rhapsody Rotorua, and they're an educational travel company that organise educational adventures for school groups. 400,000 students travel with us each year. Wow. To date, they've worked with over 9 million students on educational adventures. They work with 15,000 educators per year and were founded in 1967 by a teacher. They take students on tours across Australia and the globe. I hope you're enjoying the concert so far. You might have heard the big bang at the very start of the concert. That was when the curtain opened and my microphone fell over. Bang! So I'm going to go and take my gaffer tape, and we're going to go and try and fix that up. And we'll also see if we can find someone to have a little bit of a chat with, a little bit of an interview with a little bit later. If we can't today, don't worry, we will later on. I'm going to leave it on a wide shot. We're going to play a little bit of a highlight video with some students telling us their thoughts. I hope you're enjoying the coverage. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, you can type in the chat comments and tell me who you want a close-up of. Loving parents around the globe, and we can get them for you. Here's a wide shot of the auditorium. We'll play a video and be back very soon with the second half of this concert.
I felt that, the fact that it wasn't just a music tour, that we also got the cultural stuff as well.
The honours strings group. It was just a different way of playing music like I'd never done it before.
Music-wise, probably playing for those younger kids and knowing that hopefully one day they will, think, oh, we saw those kids playing that and that was really cool and I'd like to do that. And knowing that we could pass that on is really rewarding.
For me personally, I was really interested in the Maori culture, and it was very prevalent everywhere you went in the country, and I thought that was really interesting considering how different it is in Australia. It was also really interesting to see how much we could achieve in just 1 or 2 hours. I think it was really amazing, and it just came with a real sense of achievement and satisfaction, so that was really cool.
Not just music. People might go, oh, I don't want to go overseas and just play music and have to rehearse and whatever, but the fact that it was such a culmination of different experiences, I think, why not? It was a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've reset the microphone, the lights are dimming, and back with the second half. Rhapsody Rotorua, Concert 1. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're a bit late logging on for our live streaming, which Tim Kelly from Brass Band's doing all the way to Australia. Hello, I'm Owen Clark. I'm actually the music director for the music festival and have helped organise it. And we are watching some wonderful music. So we're going to get on straight away with our next group, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more after that. Rockhampton Girls Grammar, their final ensemble to perform for you is their wind band, and they're going to perform a great fun piece called The Baby Elephant Walk. Please give them a round of applause. A little bit of a squeal as the curtains close. The Baby Elephant Walk from Rockhampton Girls Grammar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there are some young students from Rockhampton over here. We have, I think the youngest is in year 5. Normally a secondary school in Australia goes from year 7 or 8 to year 12. In New Zealand, we go from 9 to 13, of course. But Rockhampton Girls is from prep to 12. So they've got kids from 5 years old up to, I don't know, however old you finish school, 17, 18. And they've got some students here from year 5, so around 8 years old. But there's one special person who's sitting here today who is going to be the youngest performer in Rhapsody Rotorua. Now, this girl is playing in the festival concert band, which is going to be put together. She's brought her own glockenspiel all the way from Australia. She comes from Cairns, and actually she is the only person from her school attending. Her school is Trinity Anglican School in Cairns, and she's in year 3, so she's 7 years old, and she's going to play the glockenspiel with the festival concert band. Now, how do we get just one student who's 7 years old from a school, from a random town in Australia, over to a festival that they don't know? Well, of course, their parents are the organisers. So, my daughter Allegra, why don't you come up here, Allegra? So my daughter Allegra is going to be performing on the glockenspiel with the festival concert band. Why don't you give her a big round of applause? Can you take a bow? So she's pretty excited, and she's been practicing her music. She gets a bit of a head start on the other students with their music because they haven't even seen it yet, but she's been practicing her music for the festival concert band. So thank you, Allegra. Why don't you go back to your seat? Lovely. Well done. Now, Allegra was born in New Zealand, actually. She was born in Wellington, but she lives in Australia now, so she calls herself, and her mother is Australian, so she's, half Kiwi, half, what do you say? Half Kiwi, half koala. There we go. Half Kiwi, half koala. So let me tell you, while they're just fixing the stage for our big band we're going to see now, let me tell you what's happening for the rest of the week. Now, it's great that you've all come out here today, and it's so good to see all the primary school students. On Thursday night, which is tomorrow night we have our second performance for our schools, for our public concert. So if you want to come back and hear some more, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, again, you need to book a ticket through Ticket Master. And come on down. So that's with our 3 other Australian schools and Epsom Girls Grammar, again, of course. But on Friday night is our special concert, our gala. So if you do want to come to that, you will need to get that ticket booked because it often books out in this venue. So that's where we have our combined groups, our festival and honours groups perform. And there's a whole range of music, choirs, orchestras, bands, and jazz bands. And you also hear from performing and directing a band, our guest adjudicator and clinician, Mr. Roger Fox. And he'll have a trio of professional musicians here with him, his jazz trio, and they'll be supporting the jazz honours jazz band, but also Erna Ferry, who's a fantastic blues singer, will be here with Roger, and she'll be singing and having her vocal group perform as well, made up of the students who rehearse in the next few days. So, yeah, do get in if you want to come on Friday. You'll hear Roger Fox, and also all of our students, everyone that you've seen today, are performing in the different groups of our festival and honours bands. On Saturday, this isn't really for you guys, but the kids are going to get to do a lot of fun stuff. Saturday is basically their play day. They go out to Velocity Valley, and if you don't know what Velocity Valley is, you guys from Rotorua, primary school, do you know what Velocity Valley is? No? Well, when you get older, you'll be able to go on some of these rides because there's some pretty cool things there. They've got a cool jet boat ride. They have a huge swing, and you know what? I went on it last year, and they took a video of me. They take a video, when you do it. The whole video was of me going like this with my hand over my eyes because it was so scary. Anyway, so they have that swing, which is pretty cool. They have a bungee as well, and they drag you up into the sky, then just drop you down. I don't know why people do bungee jumping, but they have a bungee, and they have another really cool thing at Velocity Valley, which is like a parachute simulator. I'm sure they use these somewhere in the world, but a big jet engine, looks like it's off a 747, turned upside down, and they blow air through it, and you go and you lie on top of it, and you balance and you pretend you're free falling in a parachute, but you're not falling anywhere except that the air is just holding you up. So that's pretty amazing and pretty scary as well. So that's Velocity Valley, and lots of the students will be doing that. And like I said, they're doing the luge on Saturday. So if Australian parents, if your kids come back, with bumps and scrapes, they'll be fine. They just would have fallen off the side of a mountain in the luge. It's fine. They'll be all right. I think the top speed is recorded just 80 k's an hour down that the track, with no guardrails and everything. So don't worry about the luge. It'll be fine. Anyway, so it's a lot of fun. So they'll be doing that on Saturday at the weekend. So Epsom Girls Grammar, next time you come down here, say to Mr. Thomas, okay, Mr. Thomas, let's go and do 1 or 2 performances. But no, we want to just do the rides, really. That's the main thing. No, it's not the main thing. Playing is the main thing. But yeah, make sure you hit him up for that, all right? He'll arrange that. Actually, I'd like to see Mr. Thomas on the luge. That'd be pretty funny. It would. So the schools that you haven't seen perform today, just for your information, we have from Corrine Senior High School are from, I think they're from Perth. I might get it wrong, but I think they're from Perth. Then we had, and then we have one called Trinity Christian School, which is from Canberra. And then our final one, which we haven't heard from yet. Of course. Como Secondary College, and they're definitely from Perth because it says Western Australia. So you can imagine the travel that they had to do to get here. I complained having to fly from Cairns to Brisbane and then over here to Auckland and then drive down to Hamilton, of course. But those from Perth would have had a lot further to go, and so they're pretty tired when they got here, and they're straight into things the next day, so they've done a great job. Well, I think I can hear them gathering on behind. So for this half of the concert, we're going to hear just from some concert bands and one orchestra. So a small orchestra is going to start from St. George Girls' College, and then we're going to hear 3 bands performing to finish the concert. So St. George Girls' College, you've seen some of them performing already. Their percussion group on the rubbish tins. Their orchestra is conducted by Selena Fung. And the song they're going to perform is Scheherazade, which is a very famous piece of music written by the Russian composer Rimsky-Korsakov. So sit back, they're almost ready. When the curtains open, give them a big clap. Thank you very much. boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, please let's give them one more round of applause from St George Girls' School and their orchestra. Now, unfortunately, our students from our primary school need to get going. So, boys and girls, thank you for coming. It's been great to see you here from Aorangi Primary School. Glad you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the performance from our students tomorrow, which will be really cool. See you later. Did you like it? Good? Okay. Have fun these last few days of school, and have a good holiday. I'm already on holiday, which is pretty good. Pretty nice. Thank you very much. Well done. So St George's Girls High School. Now we're going to hear from our next ensemble, which is Mentone Girls again. Their concert band is going to come out on stage and perform a well-known Australian song, called The Man from Snowy River. It seems like everyone in Australia loves that movie, you know, and they play the music. But it is amazing music on the soundtrack, to be honest. It's composed by Bruce Rowland, who I know is still out and about in Australia. In fact, in Armidale, later on this year, there's a big performance going on of The Man from Snowy River. The University of New England, their Young Conservatorium, are putting on a concert where they play the soundtrack while the movie is being shown. So The Man from Snowy River has been shown on the screen, and the musicians at the conservatorium are forming an orchestra, and they play the whole soundtrack, which is pretty amazing. It'll be a pretty tough job for their conductor to get everything in time with the movie exactly. I think it obviously takes a lot of work, but they have lots of visual cues, and they know when they need to speed something up or slow it down. But that'll be a great performance happening in Armidale later in the year, The Man from Snowy River. Now, while the band are getting set up behind me, I thought I'd tell you a bit more about our adjudicators and our clinicians who we have here. So at Rhapsody Rotorua, we get some of the top musicians in New Zealand to come in and mentor the students, to adjudicate their performances, but then to give a really good workshop and give them lots of feedback. So I mentioned that Roger Fox is our principal jazz adjudicator. Now, he's joined by Lauren Ellis, who's a young lady who plays the drums, and she's a fantastic jazz drummer. And it's great having her work with their students in the groups. Lauren is actually going soon to study jazz drumming at the University of Southern California. So she's off to the States in a few weeks' time doing her master's over there, which is pretty cool. Then I talked about David Bremner, who's the principal trombonist of the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. He's our adjudicator and works with the bands and the orchestras. And he's a great, a well-rounded musician. He's a well-known conductor in brass band circles in New Zealand and Australia. And he's involved in all sorts of mentoring and tutoring of people of all different instruments and all different ages too. Now, Jonathan Palmer, I mentioned, is working with our choirs, but he's joined by Erna Ferry. Now, Erna is the jazz singer, our blues singer who we have here. Erna and Jonathan complement each other when they work with the choirs, because you hear from our singers that there are lots of different styles of music. Some of them might be quite classical, some more poppy or more jazz, and so that's Erna's strength. And of course, Jonathan is the classical choral director, so he works with the students on that side of things. So they adjudicate together, and then they give their workshops, each one depending on the strength or the style of music that the singers working with. Now, all of these adjudicators also are the conductors or the directors of the festival or the honours groups which are put together. So David Bremner will be conducting 85 musicians on the stage. I don't know how we're going to fit them on, but 85 people are going to be sitting here on Friday night in the honours concert band. Now, Roger, of course, directs the honours stage band, which has about 25 musicians in it, so it's quite a big jazz band as well. Jonathan will be taking a choir of 40 people. No, 43. 40 girls and 3 boys. Lucky boys. They'll have fun in that group. And then the string ensemble. We have 2 string ensembles. I'm going to be directing one of them. And then one of our, Emily Chapman from one of our visiting schools is taking the festival strings. And then we have our festival stage band and our festival concert band. Now, the festival concert band traditionally is the biggest group. And I think this year we have 90 of them. So it's going to be pretty fun. And hopefully at the end we're going to have a grand finale where we get everybody into this auditorium performing one song. It's going to be fun. Girls, get ready for that. You might be singing. Epsom Girls Grammar, who plays a violin or something like that? Anyone over there? String instrument? Okay, good. You guys in the finale, you're not playing your instrument, you're singing and dancing, okay? I'll tell you, you're going to be up the front. We're doing a song that the bands are going to play. And you guys, in fact, you're singing a solo, I think. I'm going to give you a microphone because you look like you've got the moves for it and the voice. What do you play? Cello. Cello, right, good. Okay, so you got a deep voice, have you? Uptown Funk, you up? Okay, we're going to do Uptown Funk. So that's going to be fun. Get ready for it, you guys. So that's our adjudicators. Now, you think at the end of this concert you'll be looking forward to going home or going and chillaxing a little bit, having maybe a glass of water, orange juice. But the students, after this, they've got a rehearsal. It's the first time they get together with their combined group. So after this, we're going to be dispersing into all the different rooms in this venue and also going down to the tea rooms at the Gardens and the Monarch Room at the Princess Gate and getting ready for our combined rehearsals through till 5 o'clock. So they're working hard, these guys, and then we'll have dinner and relax. At Tamaki Village. I think we're relaxing at Tamaki Village tonight. In fact, we are. All right, well, I think we're almost ready for our group behind us. There might be a slight pause while they just get finalised, but when the curtain opens, let's give them a clap. And like I said, this group is playing The Man from Snowy River, composed by Bruce Rowland, and this is the Mentone Girls College Concert Band. So you see the symphonic band on stage here. You've been seeing lots of the different instruments throughout this performance, but a wind band, a symphonic band, has all the woodwind instruments at the front, saxophones, so reeds in the middle, and then they have brass up the back. And we've got a couple of electric basses and guitars, so have a listen for those. Are we ready, Mr. Vivers? Let's welcome the girls and Mr. Tim Vivers, their conductor. Fantastic. Tim Beavers at Mentone Girls Secondary College. Well done. Thank you. Man from Snowy River. And I love the way in Australia they tend, you play, you listen to a piece of music and somehow they always weave in Waltzing Matilda. Very cleverly, sometimes quite subtly. It's amazing. It permeates their way of life. I love living in Australia, everybody. I love coming back to New Zealand, everybody. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting towards the end of the concert. We've just got a couple of more ensembles to play, both concert bands. We'll have St. George Girls back on stage next, and then Epsom Girls Grammar are going to finish the show, which is pretty exciting. Now, I'll tell this tiny story just to fill in a little bit of time. I introduced you to my daughter, Allegra, who has come over with us. So 10 years ago, I was an adjudicator at Rhapsody Rotorua. And a school, well, actually, Rockhampton Girls Grammar School came over and brought their bands over. At that time, Jessica wasn't their director, but their director was a woman called Kelly. And I had my head down looking at the paper, adjudicating, and I looked up and I was like, whoo, look at that girl. She's all right. Anyway, so I talked to her after the show a little bit and so on and so forth. And then she went back to Rockhampton. But, you know, I did get an invite to go into a workshop over to Australia a couple of months later. Spent a bit of time over there. And then, as it eventuated, a year and a half later, we got married. So, I married one of the band directors who brought their band that I was adjudicating. Now, I still get ribbed because I only gave them a second place, a silver award, and I didn't give them the gold award, but I'm very professional, of course. But, and then, of course, we had our daughter, Allegra. Now, because Kelly and I met at Rhapsody, Allegra's middle name is... What's your middle name, Allegra? Rhapsody. Her middle name is Rhapsody. So remember Rhapsody Rotorua. So we've been back almost every single Rhapsody with all of us ever since. And we lived in New Zealand for a few years, and we've lived in Australia for 4 years now. And I've been back helping manage and adjudicate them, and Kelly and Allegra have been back as well. So Allegra's sort of grown up watching Rhapsody Rotorua. So it's a nice connection. And so it's my wife and I's 10-year anniversary since we met at Rhapsody Rotorua. I'll call it a 10-anniversary. 10-anniversary. You get it? Right? Good. Yeah. Okay, my jokes are falling a bit flat. Probably because we're getting towards the end of the concert. So here we go. We've got some great ensembles performing. This piece of music, and this is one thing I like about concert bands, is that you can play a whole range of music. We've already heard Scheherazade. That was by an orchestra, but Scheherazade, you know, a classical piece of music written many years ago. We've heard this music from the movies, The Man from Snowy River, composed a number of years ago. And now we're going to hear a more modern composition written for concert band. This is called Earth Dance, and this song is composed by Michael Sweeney. Michael Sweeney is an American composer. He's still around and writes lots of music of all levels for school bands and for more accomplished bands as well. So this is a great piece of music, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. So again, when the curtain opens, let's give them a big round of applause. Their conductor is, her name is Ashley. She's their principal music teacher. And this is, of course, St. George Girls High School. So when the curtains open, let's give them a nice big round of applause. Thank you. And that's St George's Girls, and their conductor is Ashley Hamilton. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you. Now, we have our final band are going to come on now and perform a couple of little things for you. Now, these are the girls from Epsom Girls Grammar. Now, I know it looks as though there's actually not many in the audience right now, as our school students and some other people have had to leave, but in the room next door, we have all of our Australian schools in there. There are about maybe 250 kids in there at the moment watching this concert, which has been broadcast just across, it's not very far, 10, 20 metres, across the hallway on a screen there, and the sound is expertly being sent there as well. So they're really enjoying listening to all the bands there. And I hope those watching the live stream at home have enjoyed it. Remember, tomorrow night we have our other schools performing, 3 other Australian schools, and Epsom Girls Grammar as well. And actually, EGGS, I love that, what do you call it, acronym? EGGS, we should tell your parents, because I don't think you know about the live stream, but there's a website that your performance will be live streamed through tomorrow night. So your parents might want to jump on and have a good look at what you're doing. So that'll be pretty cool. And that's the same with the Friday night concert as well, the Honours and Festival group. So it's a really good thing to do. A technical magician is Tim Kelly. He is from Brass Band. He runs a company in Australia which features or specialises live streaming musical events. And he started out working as the title of his company might give away, working with brass bands. And he's done live streaming of the band national championships from Australia and the New Zealand championships. And you can imagine what a big job that is, because those festivals and championships have many bands from all around the country performing. So he's live streamed those events, and he's done other events all around the world as well. So he's very much in demand, and we're very lucky to have Tim Kelly with us from Brass Band live streaming this event. And I got online before and I had a look at it. And it's actually, it looks fantastic. He's got a camera on stage and a couple scattered around, and he's able to zoom in on soloists and different things like that. And he does a little bit of a witty running commentary as well, a bit of repartee. If you hadn't got enough from my amazing, comments I make up here. Well, we're getting towards the end of the show. We have Epsom Girls Grammar School. Their concert band are coming on now. Tomorrow night, their orchestra is going to perform. But this ensemble is going to play 3 short snippets for you from some of their music. Mr. Peter Thomas is their conductor. He's head of music at Epsom Girls Grammar. And he's a prolific conductor himself. He conducts the Auckland Symphony Orchestra and other ensembles. And he's worked at Rhapsody Rotorua as an adjudicator as well in past years. So it's great to have Peter Thomas back here with us. Now, Rhapsody Rotorua will be happening again next year. I think we're here again next year because, of course, the Howard Morrison Theatre is still closed for renovations. Earthquake strengthening, they tell me. It's got to be a pretty big earthquake, but I guess it's important to get these things done, even if it's closed for a couple of years. So, Hamilton Council, come on, keep working on it, get it open. I know you can. Rotorua, not Hamilton, sorry Hamilton, the Rotorua District Council, there you go. So next year, we'll be back at the same sort of time, beginning of July. It's always at this time because it's the first week of the school holidays for most Australian schools. And it's usually in the last week of school for New Zealand schools. That means we can go and do school concerts, do our visits. And the New Zealand schools that get involved can take their day or their 2 days off school and come down and take part in the festival as well. So around this time next year, so listen out for it and come on down again if you can. We'll be having again these 2 concerts, a matinee and an evening concert, which we're having tomorrow night. And then, of course, the Friday is the final gala. Well, I think I'll say farewell. After this band, the students will quickly be going off and organising themselves for their final rehearsals for today. So the lights will come up in the auditorium, and that's your cue to go. So I won't come back out again to say goodbye. So I'll say my goodbyes now. Well done, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the range of performances. It's amazing to see the talent that the young kids have and their abilities on a whole lot of different kinds of music and their passion for it. They love it. They come out here and they really have a great time, and they do their best when they perform, and they really enjoy these trips out here. So have a good evening, and thank you for coming out. I'll leave you, and when the curtain opens, it's going to be Epsom Girls Grammar Concert Band, and Mr. Thomas will introduce the couple of pieces that they're going to be doing. Thank you very much, and I'll see you another time. Thank you.
And internet viewers, Owen is too kind, mentioning the witty repartee. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. We are back live again tomorrow night from 7 p.m. New Zealand time, which is, of course, you'll be 2 hours earlier if you're watching on the east coast of Australia. I'm not exactly sure what time it is in Rockhampton at the moment either, if you're watching from there. I believe this recording is going to stay up on YouTube if you're just catching the end of it. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I've had a great time here. And look forward to broadcasting more to you from Rhapsody Rotorua tomorrow evening. Hope you can join us.
Thank you very much. Rather than just do one long piece, we're going to do snippets from 3 pieces. And we started with the Grieg March of the Trolls. We're going to move to Catch Me If You Can, which is a film soundtrack by John Williams featuring one of our band leaders, Molly Manning. Give Molly a big hand. Thank you to Molly Manning, one of our band leaders. And we're going to finish this whole concert with a little American folk song. It's called Western One Step.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the broadcast of the first concert here at Rhapsody Rotorua 2019. My name's Tim from Brass Band, live streaming here on behalf of World Strides Australia. Hope you've enjoyed this first concert. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, at 7 p.m. New Zealand local time. It could be a different time if you're in a different time zone. In fact, it probably definitely is. This recording will most likely stay up on YouTube. I'm not sure. It depends on what copyright stuff has been sorted out. But there will probably be a few versions of this going around. So I hope you've enjoyed it. You can go back and rewatch it again, at least for a little while. And you can join us again tomorrow night. Thanks once again for joining us, and we will see you another time. Thanks for watching.
I felt that, the fact that it wasn't just a music tour, that we also got the cultural stuff as well.
The honours strings group. It was just a different way of playing music like I'd never done it before.
Music-wise, probably playing for those younger kids and knowing that hopefully one day they will, think, oh, we saw those kids playing that and that was really cool and I'd like to do that. And knowing that we could pass that on is really rewarding.
For me personally, I was really interested in the Maori culture, and it was very prevalent everywhere you went in the country, and I thought that was really interesting considering how different it is in Australia. It was also really interesting to see how much we could achieve in just 1 or 2 hours. I thought it was really amazing. And it just came with a real sense of achievement and satisfaction, so that was really cool.
Not just music. People might go, oh, I don't want to go overseas and just play music and have to rehearse, whatever, but the fact that it was such a culmination of different experiences, I think, why not? It was a lot of fun.